Okay, thank you for turning yourselves back from the coffee and biscuits. I've got a shortened presentation to do because of the overrun earlier. So firstly, to introduce ourselves, my name is Steve Ram. I'm the Sales and Marketing Director for P4. We're an emergency lighting manufacturer. We're based in Norfolk. Everything is made in the UK. We've been in the industry for over 30 years. We cover the country with a team of competent, there's a lot of talk about competent and competency, competent engineers, and all have done the appropriate training and are actually going through the new training processes to make sure that we are current, up to date. A lot of experience within the industry and within the team. In the picture here, you've got on the right of the two, there is Alan Daniels, is our technical director. He's chairman of ICEL. ICEL is the Industry Committee for Emergency Lighting. So we're very much involved in that top end of the industry, guiding the standards, pushing quality all the way. ICEL has a competency scheme which they're launching in September, and it will be, so it gives us third-party accreditation to people involved in emergency lighting from manufacture through to design and installation. As you can see, we cover a lot of the country, a lot of NHS, a lot of universities. 25% of NHS trusts have got P4 emergency lighting in it. Self-testing emergency lighting is the way forward. And also into Ireland. Okay, accreditation is so important. Third-party viewing of our business makes us a better business. They cost a lot of money, takes us a lot of our time up, but what we need is to be seen to be a quality business out there, and we need for all of you people out there to be looking for these type of accreditations, these associations with industry, to help keep the quality there. So BS 5266 is the standard for emergency lighting. It's guidance, it is not law. The law comes from the regulatory reform order, but this is the guidance that we have. Now, if I take you over here, we've got, for emergency lighting, this building here has probably got 150 emergency lights in it. This building here, probably over 1,000 emergency lights in it. This visitor centre at the Tower of London, Tower Bridge, has probably got 200 emergency lights in it. Several thousand emergency lights here. All of these emergency lights need to be tested. And a British standard, the BS 526, covers that within the standards. We come on to some specifics in a little while, but it covers all of that. So since I've been in emergency lighting, we've had changes to the standards. We had the 2005 standard, the 2009 standard, the 2016 revision, and now we're looking at the 2024 revision. It's big. It's a big thing. It's a 79-page document at the moment, and there are 850 recommendations to change that standard, single items to make changes to that standard. So there's a lot happening. So you really need to be, if you're a responsible person, if you're involved in emergency lighting, if you're involved in fire safety, you need to be able to understand what those standards are talking about. We're going to be putting together a very strong program of CPDs where we can educate people what the need is out in the market. So the standard will be replaced in 2016, it will be adopted in Q1 2024. And the way that the standards develop is Europe updates the European standard. The British standard then sit and consider the merits of that, keeping what they want to keep and change what they want to change. And then we have the British standard. So we've got sight of the European standard. We're now developing that into a British standard. So what do we change? Because we have experiences like Grenfell, need to change testing requirements, etc. We have a likelihood of failure. Now, I'm talking here about emergency lighting, and for me, the most important thing about emergency lighting is that when the power fails, nothing to do with a fire, when the power fails and the grid is under massive pressure, when the power fails, I need to be able to get out of here, and I need to get down these steps, and get out at that exit, and then go up the staircase into the reception area and leave the building safely. That's what emergency lighting is. It's nothing to do with fire. If there is a fire, the mains lighting may stay on for a long, long time. When the mains lighting fails, that's when your emergency lighting comes in and becomes really important. It's a dormant thing, like smoke detection, I suppose. It's dormant. It's sat there doing nothing until there's a power failure to that particular lighting circuit, and then we follow our route guidance. In here, we've got emergency lighting. There's one there, illuminating this step here. There's one over there by the door, and there's one over there by that door as well. There's also this practice of staying put within buildings. Now, it's happened forever. People stay put in buildings. If you're in a typical classroom, you're not going to evacuate all the children out into the playground because the lighting circuit's failed, because there's probably more light in that room from the light coming through the window than there would be if there was the emergency lighting was on. So there's this practice of staying put, so we have to build that into the standards, and we have to discuss it within the standards and make provision for it. There is a cause and effect. If you're going to stay within this building, then you need to make sure that your emergency lighting is going to last for the period you dictate. So let's say you're going to stay in the building for 1 hour, and then you're going to start to evacuate, and you've got an hour's time to evacuate. You need to make sure that your emergency lighting is going to last at least 2 hours. Changes in the standards. So there's a lot of changes. My title is Industry Trends. Driven by the standards, we have a greater requirement for illumination. On escape routes, currently, you need to achieve 1 lux down the centre line of that escape route, just down the centre line, half a lux on the edges. Now, 1 lux doesn't sound much, 1's a small number, but compared to complete darkness, it's a lifesaver. You can escape from that building nice and safely. Escape route should be kept clear, but if there is an obstruction, you would be able to see that obstruction on the escape route and escape. If we all had to leave this building now, people have got to come down this raked seating area. We've got to gather out here. If I walk on that door on my own, nice and easy. 260 people wanting to do that. When the fire alarms are ringing, when there's smoke in the air, when you've got people with special needs perhaps, completely different situation. So they've decided to increase the lux level to 1 lux across the whole of the escape route. No dark shadow areas, 1 lux as a minimum guidance. Up the road from here, probably over there somewhere, we've got Moorfields Eye Hospital. They ask for a high level of illumination because they've got limited abilities with sight. Typically, their customers, their patients, need a high level of illumination. I've got a countdown clock now. Nobody else had a countdown clock. Pressure. So, near releases for doors which have been provided to leave the building. We have over here, we've got a unit which this door would be locked. You can hit this unit. Could be a tag that you've got on there. A contact card could be there. Enables you to leave the building. Now, if it's dark, how do I find that? I can't see it. The green neon there indicates where that card reader is, but nothing checks that. That isn't tested by the emergency lighting system to make sure it's got the requirement, which is 5 lux on the front of it. Because it's got a green light there, it doesn't mean you're actually going to be able to understand what you need to do with it. It's deemed within the standards that 5 lux on these types of points of emphasis is sufficient to be able to illuminate it and act accordingly. First aid kits. They are mentioned in the 2016 standard, but in the 2024 standard, it will define the illumination on them. There's bits and pieces in the 16 standard which, through time, has become identified as being lacking. So, we've got evac chair here. We've got additional points of emphasis which will be in the new standards. These escape chairs. We've seen one going up and down the stairs there. Great, you're used to using it. What happens if you're responsible for operating that chair and helping somebody to leave a building if you can't read the instructions on the front of it? They need to be illuminated. Health and safety people are great at putting first aid kits around, putting new extinguishers around. Do they always think about the requirements of illumination? Not always. Additional points of emphasis, refuge points. Again, you need to be able to read the instructions on the front of that panel there. Push the button, and in a situation where you're not in a panic state. You need to be calm. You need lighting there to give that calmness and be able to read and be able to understand the instructions that are given. So I mentioned about stay put lighting. So we've always had emergency escape lighting. This is the exit signage and the lighting that I explained here. We've got standby lighting, which would be generators, which would be static inverters, which provide enough lighting for you to continue to operate or to continue to shut down a process safely. And we have this stay put lighting. So if we're going to have stay put lighting, then we need to have some more guidance on it and how to apply it and what precautions we need to have in place. Borrowed and stolen light. The local authorities are looking to switch off lighting in outside areas. If you go to somewhere like Germany now, you will not see a church lit up with neon lighting or with anything. They can't justify the use of power to illuminate a pretty building. So with this here, this is a building which has got some external corridors. Obviously it's housing. So you don't need to illuminate inside the housing, but you do need to illuminate the route across. We've got a staircase here. So you need to illuminate this here. And yet the local authority are not going to provide amenity lighting. They can't afford it. It's not good for the environment. So we need to be able to make sure that we do cover these areas, and there'll be more detail about that in the 2024 standards. There's a whole document which is written about electricity supply and sharing electricity. In this document, there are processes and evaluation of buildings. Does this building need light? Does it need power through the night? Does this manufacturing process need power through the night? Can we redirect that power to somewhere else? It's a whole document on it. It's a minefield of application and getting people to buy into it. That somebody spending a lot of time and a lot of money in writing this. It's protecting for the future when we have less capability of supply. I like that picture, so I thought I'd show it again. Okay, so areas that need to be considered when we do our emergency lighting designs. So we need to, when we do a design, as P4, we're competent in doing designs. We do it all the time. It's all we do is emergency lighting. We come across lots of scenarios. We've got lots of experience in the business. So the areas that you need to have emergency lighting are escape routes. I've highlighted those. Open areas, if you've got an open area like the tea coffee area there, obviously you need to illuminate that. Toilets. In any toilet, pretty much any toilet requires emergency lighting in there. You typically can have wet floors. They can become slippery. Again, you need to provide for that. Areas, high task areas. So if you've got rotating machinery, that type of thing. Kitchen areas, they're highly dangerous. You need a high level of illumination. So put exit signage. We also need to have, and we need to light outside final exits. And as I said, our points of emphasis. So points of emphasis would include green dots, fire extinguishers, first aid kits. So when we will see the new standards, the European standard is due to be released in 3 months' time. I can't believe we're nearly talking about September. And in Q4, it will go out for consultation, and it will be adopted in Q1. So this is just around the corner from us. So if you've got any projects that are being designed now, you need to be considering what the standard is going to be, because you could spend a lot of time, a lot of money in design that all needs to be reviewed, because when the building takes shape, it will need to be compliant with the current standards, because it will say that in your risk assessments. Your risk assessments will say that it's compliant with the regulatory reform order, which in turn then refers to BS 5266 as the guidance document of choice. So here we have a building and we've got various rooms. We've got a meeting room there, which is less than 60 square meters. In the current standards, it doesn't need to have any emergency light in there. Unless you've got a fire extinguisher in there, you've got another reason, let's say it's a gymnasium, you've got free weights kicking around the floor, then you would say, well, okay, I would need to allow for emergency lighting in there. Accessible toilets have always needed. If I do a design for, any of my team do a design in a hospital, then they will treat every single toilet as an accessible toilet. even the staff ones, because people will use those toilets. People are unfamiliar with the building. People could potentially be there with additional needs. We also have to highlight our escape route. Now, if the standards change and they say from 1 lux on the escape routes, in certain circumstances, we need 3 lux or 5 lux, to be honest, it's never going to become less than it is now. In 2009, we went from 0.2 lux to 1 lux. Then we look at that corridor and first of all, we look at our points of emphasis and we say, okay, where that intersection of corridor is, that is a point of emphasis. We need an emergency light there. Down this end on the left-hand side by the medium room, there's a need for an emergency light there because there's a fire door on that escape route. And also this final exit to point of assembly, there's likely to be a call point there, so we put an emergency light there. That might already give us 5 lux because we've got our emergency light dotted where they need to be. It doesn't mean that if the standards change from 1 lux to 5 lux, it doesn't mean we're going to need 5 times as many emergency lights. I wish it did because we could sell 5 times as many emergency lights. But and then also, if you look around a building that has been designed and newly installed and you're verifying that building, you might look at an area and say, on a light meter, hang on, I've got 15 lux here and I only need 1 lux. Well, that's because of the points of emphasis that need to be covered. Within 2 meters, you've got to have an emergency light of every point of emphasis. Interactive signage. I spoke to somebody earlier, I can't pick out in the crowd with all the faces. Interactive signage has been around for probably 2 years. It looks coarse like this. It's moved on. It's not mentioned in the standards. 2016 version, it's not mentioned in there, but it will certainly be in the 2024 standard. And there'll be guidance on how it can use, the cause effects that will be used, will be available. And these are there to say, at the moment, it's not safe to go through that area, which could be triggered from a smoke detector on the other side of the door. But moving this technology forward, it will show you a preferred direction as an alternative. So technology is taking that forward. So with emergency lighting testing, we're expecting to see, at the moment, you have to have a monthly test on every emergency light, every single emergency light. This building here, with 4,000 emergency lights, every single one of them has to be tested. You've got to have a manual system to do it, which P4 manufacture. We're expecting that the full duration tests, the 3-hour tests, are going to have to be every quarter rather than once a year. Record keeping, somebody mentioned data, digital data. If you log into our system from the cloud, you can see your latest compliance reports all in digital format. We offer lots of solutions as P4. Goodbye fluorescent lighting. Fluorescent tubes will not be available. They're becoming really short supply now. If you rely on the fluorescent tubes in your emergency lighting, it's not maintainable. You won't be able to buy the tubes. Look to change to LED. We do retrofit kits. Okay. So there's lots to talk about on emergency lighting. We will be setting up lots of CPDs, presentations. We engage with NAFO, IHEM, etc. So hopefully we'll see you at those. Go on, stand outside, and my time's up. Thank you.